Ladies and gentlemen, life is very different for children now, especially they are home. And many parents are going to have to deal with the fact that they are going to have to educate their children at home. Now, this story came out on NPR. With school buildings closed, children's mental health is suffering. Now, some children may miss, playing with the other kids and being in school and being in class and, in person class. But we know much of the states across the country have closed the schools for the rest of the academic year. And to be all honest with you, I don't know how they're going to open these schools with the kids now suffering from what they call a serious inflammation illness that's showing up in New York, but I'm now hearing it's in other states, and Europe has come forward to say they have cases. So it's probably a lot more out there. They are admitting that they have overlooked this. I think it's always been there, but they weren't looking at the kids and they were making the assumption that the kids were not, really getting COVID-19. But now we can see that's all false. Now, there are some governors talking about the prospect of possibly opening schools back up nationwide, but I can't see it as long as this new it's not I guess it's not really new, the inflammation illness that kids are getting, what they call Kawasaki like disease that is showing up in the kids now. I believe 3 children have died, and the last time I looked, it was up to 103 children in New York with it. The previous week, it was about 73 children. So it did go up in number, but I'm sure there's a lot of children out here that have not even been diagnosed. All right, I have a 3-minute piece of audio that I'm going to play from NPR.
Are kids going back to school in the fall? In some places, maybe. Others, it's not clear. The question has become a major political issue. President Trump says this.
I think they should open the schools, absolutely. I think they should. And it's had very little impact on young people.
His comments were a direct response to Dr. Anthony Fauci, the head of the NIH, who was cautious about reopening schools this fall when he testified before a Senate panel earlier this week.
We don't know everything about this virus, and we really better be very careful, particularly when it comes to children.
One of the nation's most prominent pediatricians has now weighed in on this question. He says keeping schools closed for too long would be a grave mistake. Here's NPR's Anya Kamenetz.
Nightmares, anxiety, tantrums, regression, even suicidal thoughts. Children across the country have been struggling with the loss of their friends, their teachers, and their routines under lockdown. Sarah lives in Northern California. Recently, she told her 5-year-old daughter, Phoebe, that it wasn't safe to take her on an errand to the post office.
I told her no. And she's like, why? She's like, I don't care if I die.
Sarah, we're not using her last name to protect her daughter's privacy, has been alarmed enough by statements like these that she is seeking out a therapist for Phoebe, though it's been difficult to find one who can treat children over video chat.
She's definitely not in the best state of mind right now.
Dr. Dimitri Christakis is the editor-in-chief of the Pediatrics Journal of the American Medical Association, and he says the serious effects of this crisis on children like 5-year-old Phoebe have been overlooked.
The decision to sort of close schools initially and now to potentially keep them closed isn't, I think, taking the full measure of the impact this is going to have on children, not just the short term, but the long term.
The problem, Dr. Christakis says, isn't just learning loss, which is expected to fall particularly hard on low-income children with unequal access to distance learning. A study in his journal also documents a downturn in children's mental health under lockdown in China.
The social emotional needs of children to connect with other children in real time and space, whether it's for physical activity, unstructured play, or structured play. This is immensely important for young children in particular.
In his new editorial in JAMA Pediatrics, Dr. Kostakis calls for an interdisciplinary expert panel to make school reopening a priority here in the United States.
I think we should sort of reason backwards from the expectation that children do start school, that's an imperative, and then how do we make that happen safely?
Safety, of course, is the reason schools closed around the world in the first place. It's still considered very rare for children to become seriously ill from coronavirus, but recently there have been a handful of children who died of an apparently COVID-related inflammatory illness. The more commonly discussed risk is children infecting others, their teachers, parents, and grandparents. A new paper in Science, co-authored by Maria Litvinova, suggests that children are less likely to catch the disease, but because they have so much close contact at school, canceling in-person classes plays a key role in flattening the curve. Litvinova says she's doubtful that schools can really enforce social distancing.
It's very difficult to explain to children that they shouldn't stay with their friends or talk with them or be close to each other.
Dr. Kostakis is himself an epidemiologist by training, but he says that's exactly why experts from different backgrounds need to be consulted, so that the risks of reopening schools can be properly balanced with the risks of keeping them closed. Anya Kamenetz, NPR News.
Now, here's the thing that I don't know. I'm just not thinking it's wise to let others make that decision on whether your child should go back to school or not. I think that should be left up to the parents' discretion in this whole thing, because they don't have your child's best interests at heart. Let's be real. They don't. All you got to do is go back and look at how our children were treated. I mean, we remember the stories of kids getting arrested, elementary, children, small children, because they had a temper tantrum in class, getting arrested. Only one I would see getting arrested were Black children. They would complain about their hair. They would complain, about them not being able to take their pictures because of their hair. They were kicked out of class because of their hair. I mean, it's just ridiculous after a while. That's why I think if children return back to school, it should be up to the parents. These folks and their judgment, man, they can go kick rocks at this point. I don't trust none of their judgment. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.